Give something away every day, even if it's only a smile. The more you give away, the less Baba has to take away. Call Baba up on the phone and say hello. And tell him how you feel. You dial BABA, of course. Long distance call. Okay. Area code, yeah. AMB. Choose a new Baba sentence each day for meditation. Paste it in your shower or on your fridge. So when you go for a snack, you'll get Baba whacked. I have a sentence now on my bathroom mirror. Everything happens by the will of God and is necessary. So people use my bathroom, they go in, then they come out. God has a sense of humor, so be sure you do. If the joke's on you, enjoy it. And Baba said this whole universe is a joke. Sometimes a very sad joke, Baba said, but it's a joke. He said that to us in 52 in Myrtle Beach. This is number 7. Is anybody keeping count? I don't know. Don't be bored with his universe. After all, he made it. A lot of people have a problem with boredom. They're bored. I had that happen to me once, and suddenly Baba showed me every tiny thing was him. I saw Baba in everything. So I couldn't get bored. How could I get bored? Visualize being in the tomb and laying your head down there on the tomb. That's good when you're upset, you know. If you've been to the tomb, if not, then you can get a photo. You're there. You're right there with Baba. Very good. Tell a joke to Baba. Baba always asked us, tell me a joke, and you had to have one real ready. I was very bad at that. But it kind of cheers you up, breaks the ice, the gloom, whatever. Sometimes Baba looked very sad, go into his inner work and look like Christ, and then he'd suddenly snap out of it and turn around, point to someone and say, tell me a joke. Wit is it. Wit is in. And a little boy here, Ryland there, had his own way of remembering Baba. They have a picture of Baba that keeps falling down, and his mother said, oh, that's too bad. And Rai said, no, every time it falls down, I remember Baba. See every failure, yours and others, as a step in learning. I think that's important. There's no such thing, Baba says, as a success without failures. He says that in the discourses. So don't worry about failure, it's going to help you to learn something. See evil as a lesser good. Baba said the saints are his assets and sinners his liabilities. So make friends with a few liabilities. If you don't like someone, he's Baba's liability. Be cheerful, even if it hurts. Baba says it helps others. And then there's very nice cliche, but I like it. You can't have a rainbow without sunshine and rain. It's like the law of Maya, the opposites. You can't draw a picture without black or white, So there's got to be these opposites in nature, in the world. And so be cheerful about it, Dissolve fear by loving and daring. Kick the worry habit. It costs a lot of money. Baba gave me the worry operation. I've talked at other times about that operation Baba gave me, but he really gave me the worry operation. I can't worry anymore, really. I mean, sort of on the surface of the mind, but serious worry, no. It's a waste of energy. It's a terrible waste of energy. You never solve anything by worrying. And the next one I've done myself. when Baba said we couldn't write to him, I would write a letter to Baba and mail it, and I mailed it in God Speaks. I put the letter in God Speaks. And somehow it would get solved, It's like Baba read the letter. And it's fun for me now. I used to tuck them in other places too. And I've recently been going through old things I have and finding old letters sealed up that I wrote to Baba, and I open them up and I read this big thing that I was writing Baba about, and it's all such a joke now. What was I writing to Baba about? So send Baba a letter. You can still write Baba a letter. Remember all the words you ever say, collect in one place. Baba said that. So say them well, so you won't get deafened by the sound of your own words. In other words, be very careful what you say. And all that sound, Baba said, accumulates. It's really like the law of karma, actually. All that you send out from yourself collects somewhere and hangs there and then echoes back to you. So be very careful what you say.
Where is it? Where is that?
Well, each one is for someone, Einstein's theory of space. You're in your own space-time. And all the words you said are in your own space-time bubble. And that's the law of karma. It comes back to you. But you must remember that sound is a very potent thing. We use words very carelessly sometimes. Oh, I hate that, or I don't like this, or she's such and such, blah, blah. And but those words stay out there, and they come back to you. Love yourself. You're Baba's closest relative. I think a lot of people have problems loving themselves. The cliche now, the psychologist is your low self-image. So why have a low self-image? Love yourself. You're Baba. Feel good about yourself. And then you really start feeling better about other people. If you feel lonely, call up another lonely person. And talk, get together. Invite them over, go out for a movie or something. I have a lot of people complain how lonely they are. But there are people who never give you a call or try to go out and see somebody else. They want somebody to come to them and make them feel less lonely. And the only way to stop being lonely is to reach out. Reach out. I think loneliness is a very real thing for a lot of people. And this one goes along with it. Don't seek love. Give out some free samples and see what happens. Which is sort of taking off after the prayer of St. Francis, which is very beautiful. He said, don't seek love, but give it. I know sometimes people come to our group, a newcomer, and they say, oh, there's no love there, they're cold, and they didn't get any response. What is this Baba group? Don't love. And I always think, well, that's a person who sees always what they are going to get. Other people come and give the love. Are you seeking love or are you giving it? Which side are you on? Change the balance and things work out better. And this is another one favorite of mine. See Baba's beauty in everything. His consciousness in every conscious thing, and see his form in every form, and you won't be afraid of anything. I had a dream once. Baba gave me all these dreams in '52, and I saw a huge snake, and it had Baba's eyes, and a huge elephant, and it had Baba's eyes, and a huge turtle, and it had Baba's eyes, and a tree that was Baba. And then Baba made me tell a dream later on the next day, and he said, when you see me in everything, you won't be afraid of anything. So now what do? I'm very afraid of riding in cars. So now I look at every car. And that's Baba in that car. Or the driver. But everybody has some fear, right? It may be your next exam in school, or your mother-in-law, or I don't know, something. So you just see Baba. Just see Baba's eyes in their eyes. It's like Elaine Ewell, when he first met Baba, he didn't say, but he was very afraid of snakes. And so the first night he was there, I guess, he got up in the middle of the night to piddle, and he went outside, and there was a snake looking at him. And he was terribly frightened. But he said Baba's name. And the next day Baba said, how did you sleep? Oh, fine, Baba. No, how did you sleep? Well, Baba, he saw the snake. And it turned out the Mongoli asked for a description. It was a crate, one of those terrible snakes, much worse than the cobra, that don't wait for anything, they strike you. And but it didn't strike him, you see, it slid away. So Baba said, you see, you saw me in the snake, you said my name, and it went away. And so it's kind of cured his fear of snakes. Pretty radical treatment. But if you are, I'm not saying you're going to see a snake or something, but there's always something you're going to be afraid of. So just imagine that it is Baba, and suddenly it's not so bad anymore. I remember getting a call from the president of Mattel. I used to work there. And the way the secretary said, Mrs. Handler wants to see you. And her nephew, we'd started a Baba bookstore together. He quit his job there and started a Baba bookstore, our first Baba bookstore. And I thought, oh, here it comes. I've been corrupting her nephew. And so I thought, no, wait a minute. I've met Baba. I'm not going to be afraid of the president of Mattel. Who's that? You know, come on. So I walked down the hall and come in her big office, you know, and she's behind this huge desk. She had a voice like a man. And she said, well, Phyllis, I'm very happy you've been working for us, and here's a stock certificate. So it was funny. You know. And then she said, oh, by the way, how's my nephew? You know, the worst thing, I didn't want to be fired, let's face it. Baba said, you know, he gives you the kick and the kiss. So don't always want the kisses, you know. And expect that when you get the kiss, you will get the kick. Or when you get the kick, you will get the kiss. You know, they kind of go together. So always wait for the next slot in the movie, the next frame in the movie. If you want Baba's kiss, accept the kick. You know. And that's good yoga, you know. You're supposed to be beyond the opposites. You're not a Christian scientist that only wants good things, right? Where are we up to? 19, I guess. Read at least one line a day in a Baba book. Now, when people met Baba, new people, he'd always say, read the discourses, read God's speech. And yet it's a shocking fact that a lot of people have not yet gone through the discourses or God speaks or some of the other things. And I'll put in a plug for the Path of Love and Old Awakeners. There's a lot of Baba things in there. And find one sentence. Even if you're dead tired, you can pick up a book and read one sentence and go to sleep on that sentence. And it's sort of like a message when you just pick one sentence. You know, there's the custom of opening the Bible and, you know, putting your finger there. And that's good psychology. It's synchronicity or whatever Jung wants to call it. And like they do in the East with Hafiz, you've probably seen Alaba do this. They do the same thing. They open Hafiz and put their finger in. And that's your message, you know. I remember one time I was in India and Alaba did that for me in Persian. You know, he reads out this Persian thing. It suited me just perfectly at the moment. It was like, accept something or other happening to you, and the next day I busted my foot. So it was Baba's message. It's interesting how it works. Hang up a Christmas stocking for Baba and start filling it with good thoughts for everybody. You can, you know, you could pin a stocking on your wall and stuff little thoughts in there. And especially good thoughts about other people. It sounds like a cliche, but we fill our minds up with a lot of negativity about other people, and then it spouts out. For Baba's sake, if you could just toss it around the other way. Say something good to yourself inside about that person that you're thinking about. And that's like stuffing a Christmas stocking for Baba. All those good thoughts. The same idea of what you say comes back to you. The good thoughts come back to you. If you could see that inner world, we live in a world of the mind. I mean, we're all separate bodies here on these blankety blank hard chairs. But really, we are in a flow of mind. It's all one mind, and you're just creating ripples with what you think, and they come together with everybody else's ripples. So the more you send out the positive and good, the law of the waves will bring that back to you. And that is, you have to understand this universe that you're really in. As a human being, you're a mind. And what you think is very important. And especially about other people, because if you want to know how to get out of a lot of karmic things that happen, you don't know why they happen because you've been thinking back somewhere in a negative way about X or Y, and maybe it isn't that particular person that is negative towards you, but a similar pattern will come back to you, why were you robbed? Why were you backbitten? Why are you this, that? You wonder, I didn't deserve it. Why did it happen to me? It did happen somewhere in a negative thought, a seed thought. If you think of the lives of some of these saints that have never said, and it's documented, they've never said anything negative about anybody. I mean, that is being a saint, right? It's very important. I'm talking to myself now, not only you, because I'm a Gemini and I have that tongue, and I have to remember. So I'm trying to remember these things for myself. And learn to play. Don't be so serious. Play. Do you play enough? Do you have fun enough? Do you really know how to let go and just enjoy the world? Too many solemn people are bad. I spent my life, a part of it, designing toys for people and games for grown-ups, and there's nothing like making it all a game. Really, Baba loved to played with everyone. Cricket, all those things, atcha-patcha, marbles. I'm just reading Dr. Duncan's diary, which will be in the next Awakener, by the way. They formed a game club, and they were all to suggest, what games they should play. And this one and that one gave them games. And one, I think Don suggested marbles. And Baba said, yeah, that's what we'll play. So they formed a marble club. And Baba was president of the marble club. You just see him, What was it in Peter's Tommy? There's the pinball wizard or something. Yeah. Great imagery. So if you learn to play, you may win Baba's game. And this is another one we used to do, still do. 7 empty plates at your table for Baba, so you can dine with him. Whenever we had a little gathering, we'd have an empty place setting for Baba, so that you're inviting him to have a feast with you. Give Baba a pet nickname and call him by it. A private little nickname, like you have a sweetheart. Yeah, these silly nicknames. I don't know, Doodles or Booby Doo or whatever. I don't know what the latest one is. But you have a special nickname for Baba, and he'll hear that. Hey, I told you I was silly, didn't I? I think, it's time. It's 4 o'clock. Got to be silly now. Say the prayers every day at least once, and stand up while you say them to show respect for the greatest godfather of them all. Bob himself stood up, wanted everyone to stand up when the prayers were said. It's an interesting thing about those prayers. You can get a little tired of saying this. but it becomes like a rhythm inside your subconscious, the words, and suddenly they're there when you need them, you know. And you all know Baba's 3 major prayers: the Master's Prayer, learn it, and Prayer of Repentance, learn it, and the Mandali's Prayer, learn it. We were with Baba one time in '56, and we had this big commotion, and Baba made everybody say their piece. There had been some fighting and whatnot. And then he said, now I want you all stand and say the prayer of repentance, and then I will embrace you and forgive you everything up to that time, up to that moment. Nobody knew the prayer. So a kitty had to run and get a copy of it. And I said to myself, well, from now on, I'm really going to know that prayer of repentance. So they meant something. They started those in Baba's new life, those prayers. Imitate Baba by never being offended by anyone or anything. Baba said to describe himself, God-man, I am never offended by anybody or anything. How many times do you get offended? There's some people I know that just get offended all the time. And, they make a habit of it. If it's almost like you walk in the room and you breathe and they're offended. And there's no way out of it. There's no way you can make that person happy. They've got to be offended. Don't take their offending away from them. Because by complaining about you, it makes them feel real good. By cutting people small, you get bigger. So you don't have to do anything about your own size. You cut people down, right? So not being offended is a very important thing. Baba says, another way he said it was, the greatest catastrophe in the world does not upset him, and yet the tiniest thing he can be concerned about. And that is true. We've seen that with Baba. Here we were with Baba in the Cuban Missile Crisis in '62 and all that. And there's Baba jolly and happy and everything. And yet, if someone's foot ached or someone didn't feel well, he'd be concerned about them or whatever. And the tiniest thing. And someone asked me yesterday, well, does Baba think of everything I do? Is he aware of everything I do, every little thing? Of course he is. He is still there, and he's still concerned about every tiny thing about you and what's happening to you. And if you want to put him to the test, okay, but it's true. So he is concerned about the smallest thing, and again, not about big things. And that's the way we have to be, Pay attention to what's important. What's important. And so you're riding the waves, the ups and downs. Big things, little things, after a while. There's a beautiful discourse, The Infinity of the Truth, where Baba says that the greatest thing and the smallest thing are equal. It gives sort of an example. Like someone who gives millions to charity doesn't mean very much, whereas someone who just was kind for a moment to someone, or smiled at someone, or took a moment to be with someone, the smallest is equal to the greatest. And that's a very important thing, because like human beings, we're very impressed with size, big things, big successes, or big donations, or big anything. And yet the small thing, when you're with Baba, you see that his eye is on the tiniest, smallest thing. And of course, sometimes in amusing ways, like when Baba imitates it. Like, I was sitting there one time, and I guess I was cracking my knuckles or something, I don't know, I was fiddling with my fingers. And suddenly I saw everybody kind of smiling, and there was Baba, he was imitating. He noticed the smallest little thing about me, and I'm sure he knew why I was doing it. I didn't know I was doing it. But it was a gentle little, imagine you sit there with Baba and he says, I'm working all over the universe while I'm here with you. And yet he can take his time to ask you how you are, did your bowels move this morning? You know, he just really pays attention to everything. So the tiniest thing can be of interest to him. And thank Baba for your suffering. It helps you grow. When Jean Adriel left the ashram in 36 or something like that, 38, she thanked Baba for all the wonderful times with him. And Baba turned to her and said, thank me for the suffering. Thank me only for the suffering. And, well, that's kind of a harsh thing, isn't it? But then you look back, if you analyze your life, it's those suffering moments that help you grow. Not that you want to go out there and beg for something, but, you know, it is the way that Baba's helping you. It's like growing pains, you know. I always remember, you know, before I came to Baba, I was sort of very devoted to Ramakrishna. And some things that he said stood out so much in my mind. And somebody, you know, some disciple asked him, well, look at those people over there. They're happy, they have everything, everything's fine, everything goes well in their life, and so on. And Ramakrishna said, they're living a vegetable life. I always remember that. They're just, you know, going from birth to death, and at the end, I think Adi puts it somewhere very well too. You know, what have you done? You're born, grew up, you went to school, you got married, you had kids, you had a job, you got sick, and you died. So what? You know. And that's the vegetable life. You know, so what is the non-vegetable life? Well, when you get up, you're kicked. And you have to grow. A situation that makes you confront things, and you have to learn from it. We don't have to be medievalists and go out and whip ourselves and all that stuff. You know, thank God. But still, we have to appreciate it. Where am I? Oh, I know some of these are a little repetitive, but as I say, I'm talking to myself. Remember, backbiting is spitting in the wind. You won't look pretty after a while. Baba said, put it another way, he said backbiting, you should thank your backbiters, because all they're doing is collecting your samskara. In other words, you say, oh, so-and-so, such and such. That comes back to you. You picked that samskara off of them, you know, something you didn't like about them, and you pasted it on yourself, you see. So pretty soon you're all loaded up. Or like Dr. Kenmore said, it's like taking in everybody else's dirty laundry. You know, so why load yourself up with all these bad things that you don't like with someone else, but you're talking about them all the time? And you could actually psychically see that. I have a little psycho. I hate to say that, and I don't really like it either. But it does show you something. The perpetual backbiter, the perpetual complainer, their aura just builds up with negativity. And pretty soon they can't see through it to anything good about anybody. Everybody else is bad and dumb and down and you know, the whole thing. You know people like that. So they're loading themselves up. And that goes on to the next one. Remember, Joy is his middle name. Baba has a middle name, I always say, yes, Joy. And joy. That's what St. Francis, another person, really, a wonderful example for us, because he was a Western saint. Baba said he was the only Western saint who reached that sixth plane and then was God realized. Wonderful story. And he was joyous all the time. And the worst, I mean, nobody can do it, but I know of, but, you know, and he was cold and hungry and beaten on by people who didn't approve of him and everything. And he would just glow with joy and enjoy it. He'd enjoy every minute of it because he felt God's joy, I'm sure, as a real current. And so all of it didn't affect him. He could enjoy all of it. And that happiness is what has influenced people about St. Francis to this very day. And this is another one. Baba told us to have 1% of his infinite patience. That was again at the same moment when we had all gotten ticked off by say the prayer of repentance. He said, you should all have 1% of my infinite patience with each other. So I went up, I thought, well, what's 1% of infinity? So where am I? Oh, is that the end? Oh, my goodness. I don't know how many I got up to. But now I want to hear some of your favorite ways of hanging on to Baba. Anybody got a good one? Yeah.
Can I ask you if you might reprint that?
What?
I was going to ask you if you might reprint that.
Oh, reprint it.
Kind of nice for people that have it.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. What? I can't hear you. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Right. It's a coat. Yeah. Right. And in 1954, I think that was when he said it, and he said it another way to all the men there in men's darshan. Think of me, and he gave them actual times. Like when you first get up in the morning, at 12 noon, and at 5 o'clock. And I remember Fred Winterfeld, no matter where he was, you were with him, he'd, 12 o'clock, say MeherBaba, I'll think of him. And even though you may pick those times, but to pick a time is very good, because then we all wear watches mostly or whatever, and suddenly you say, oh, now it's time to think about it. And Baba said, if you think of him just one moment a day is enough. People say, oh, I don't have time. 1 moment a day. And then again, we all know that Baba said, if you take my name at the moment of your death, then you could come to me. You could actually get out of the rat cage, of evolution, involution, reincarnation. But he said, how will you do it if you don't remember me now? I see what you mean, yeah. It's like in Japan, you're not supposed to say hi to anybody, because hi means yes, and you get in trouble. No, especially girls. But anyway, it's like seeing Baba as the essence of him, not ignoring the relative personality, but seeing the essence of Baba there. They are, after all, one with you somewhere, and so you can't chop them down too much. I actually had an experience like that. It was long ago when I first came to Baba, and we were in this very pretty retreat in Connecticut with Noreen and Elizabeth and everybody. I don't know what this lady had done to annoy or disturb the whole thing. I never did finish. But she was sort of ordered to leave the place. And so she came to say goodbye to me, and she said, would you meditate with me for a moment? I said, sure, And as she sat there, this was one of my first experiences, her face completely disappeared, and I saw Baba's face there. And I didn't know the story anyway, and when I found out later, she was sort of like, oh, whatever. I thought, well, you see, the one that was despised or disliked or loused everything up or something, that was the person I saw Baba in, And you feel right away who the real self is in someone, is Baba. I think I always felt that what the Bible meant with the one unforgivable sin is against the Holy Ghost. And I used to go around, what does that mean? I don't sin against a ghost. What am I? What is this ghost? Of course, ghost is now become a different word, but originally, when the Bible was translated in English, it meant spirit. You don't offend the spirit in someone. And that's really Baba, the Baba in someone. In fact, Erich said Baba gave one day 2 spiritual secrets. He said there are 2 spiritual secrets. One was never to offend the heart of anyone, which is the same thing, like the sin against the Holy Ghost, or the Baba in them. And the other one was to be grateful every day. That should be another one here. Just give thanks every day. I try that, at the end of the day I say, it was a lousy day, thank you, Baba. Nice day, thank you. Great Sabbath, thank you, Baba. Accident on the way home, thank you, Baba. Whatever. It's a good secret. That's Baba's secret, Someone else share one with me. Yeah. Oh, the worry operation. Okay, why not? I had just met Baba, it was 1952, and every day Baba gave us the privilege to be with him, and he used to take walks on the beach early in the morning with the women, so I was invited to go along, and it was very exciting to go along with the women. And I got talking to Meher. I had just met her, and it was fascinating. We were talking about flowers, I love gardens and stuff. Very intensive. All of a sudden, there was Baba, and his eyes were flashing. He looked real angry, looking at me and pointing at me, and they were gesturing, Baba was gesturing, and they were translating from Gujarati to English and saying, "Filis, you didn't show us the way back to the center." Wow, was I supposed to show the way back to the center? Well, I found out, I had been talking to Meher, and the women don't do anything until Meher does it. She was talking to me, she was oblivious. We'd passed the road back to the center, and Baba was angry because that meant we were all late for his appointments and stuff. I thought, what is this? What have I done? I got so upset, and what is this allegory? I didn't know the path. You didn't, everything. And besides, the first time Baba's not pleased with you is really something, Baba had been so sweet to me and all that for days. So I got real upset, and my mind just spun around, 50 cycles a second. And then, so we were going home down the path, and Baba gestured, and Mani interpreted, "Filis, stop worrying." And I couldn't stop. When your mind goes, I couldn't stop. I kept thinking, what have I done? What have I done? 3 times he said, and I couldn't stop. So then he called me up to him, and he took, in his right hand, he took this left wrist like that, and I felt this sort of energy flash go up and blanked out, blotted out everything. And I was happy, and I was going along and everything. And I didn't think anything of the whole incident. Went out of my head until quite a few hours later, I was describing it to Adele or something. And that was my worry operation. I had the kind of mind that just grinds and grinds. You get into a snit or whatever you call it, and you just can't get out of it. Just worry and worry something to death. And after that, I could never worry like that. I don't mean I'm stupid and don't, worry a little bit, but that horrible kind of mind was cured. And I look back and see that Baba created this total artificial thing. I really hadn't done anything. Nobody told me to show them the path or anything. Baba just created an artificial scene where he could look at me and, scare me a little that I'd done something wrong and get me worried and then cure the worry. And actually, that's Baba's technique. He would create situations rather than tell you, don't worry, be happy. Just verbally, he'd make you worried sick and then he'd heal you. And I think he's still doing that. But you can always ask for the worry operation. Yeah, get the cut. And it's really, Baba's given many beautiful discourses on worry. In the Path of Love, I put them all together, and it's a beautiful thing how Baba can help you not worry. And that's why I always say, don't worry, be happy. The Baba chair, yeah. All these silly little things like little tricks to help. They actually did that. When you go to MeherBabaLibrary, and you get shown that very special room where the women were, they show you all these things that they did to keep themselves occupied when Baba was traveling on his long tours to the West and on his bus tours and everything. They made those pictures, those cut-out pictures and made little embroidered wreaths of paper. They didn't have real things then, expensive materials, so they made these beautiful paper flower wreaths for Baba pictures. They made a little swing with Baba in it, little, sure you see that in a little glass box. They did all these things to keep their mind on Baba. They'd embroider Baba's name. They'd write Baba's name hundreds and hundreds of times. They have notebooks filled with Baba, MeherBaba, MeherBaba. You see, they did all these little things to keep their mind on Baba. It sounds, like kindergarten maybe, but what does it matter? You're concentrating on Baba. And that's how they kept themselves thinking of Baba while he was gone for months at a time. Yeah, over there. Well, I don't think any of us get to that stage where you're not really where you're totally free, because if you are, then you're God realized. And then Baba explained how the Satguru, who is God realized and keeps the body, then does become an actor. That's exactly what he does. His suffering is not real, he's acting out the suffering. And only the avatar actually feels the suffering. So until we get to that stage, it's an ideal. All these things are ideals. But because we have sanskaras to the bitter end, we're still going to struggle. You'll still have these things to deal with, basically, the ego. Yeah. But I think you can relate to other people in their suffering, partly because you've overcome a little bit of it in yourself. Baba said, I found this quote. I found some new quotes. Again, they'll be in the New Awakener. But Baba said he'd given a discourse one morning, and this guy had come late. He'd explained Maya, illusion, suffering, I don't know what all. And so he was very down, he missed the discourse. And Baba said, I'll give you the gist of it in one sentence. He said, you live in water all the time, but you don't know it. And that's like you're living in God, but you don't know it. A very enigmatic sentence, but I thought of it when you said that you're in the water. In other words, you're in God all the time, but you're just a dummy and you don't know it. That's where we all are. Yeah, that's neat. Yeah. And it's strange that in the art cards and things lately, there have been a lot of Baba symbols, white horses and rainbows and everything. Baba said the rainbow is his symbol, which is sort of like the Bible where God said he would never destroy. Noah asked God for a sign, never destroy the world again like that by a flood. And he said he sent the rainbow. And that was God's promise that he'll never destroy the world again by a flood. Never mind earthquake, fire, my time. Time. Thank you all. Goodbye.